Salutations, Imperial citizens and battle brothers. Hello, it's Brother Tobias. Welcome to another Ultramarines tier list. It has been a hot minute since we last did one of these. I didn't want to make one right after the balanced data slate came out because I wanted to see how the meta game would develop. And now I'm making one because we have a lot of data. A lot of new things have happened. We have received the Dark Eldar Codex. We have received a bunch of Space Marine detachments for the other chapters in the Codex, which has actually helped one of them to be really, really good. And we have upcoming releases for the Ultramarines pending, which means this is the perfect situation to get ourselves acquainted one last time with the Ultramarines right now. Now, let's go over the tiers. This is our ABC, and just like every ABC, we're starting out with S. S stands for still in almost every list. Datasheets in S tier are pretty much in every single list you write as an Ultramarine player. And if you don't include one of these models, you probably have a very good reason for it. A stands for always a good choice. Those are the units you will frequently see in almost every single list. You can't bring all of them, and depending on what the rest of your army is doing, you don't want all of these, but you will see these datasheets pretty much in a lot of situations. B stands for best used for a specific purpose. Those are datasheets which show up in tournament level play, but they do not show up in every single list. They only show up in like one detachment, or they show up in one combination with another unit. I think this is a pretty decent way to do the B tier, and I will go into examples as soon as we are jumping into the tiers. C stands for conceptually useful, but has flaws. Those are the data sheets which are they have something going on, but there is something about them that just doesn't work correctly. It is just like maybe it's the points, maybe they have a bad ability, maybe their guns or damage output isn't good enough. That's just like they could be good, but it's just not happening. D stands for don't run these because they're bad. D tier includes all of the data sheets that are just not good enough to play. They have more flaws than they have upside, and if you put one of these in your list, it's probably a bad list. F stands for flyers and FN buildings. Yeah, those go into F tier, and I will basically do that ahead of the tier list because we have this conversation every time. But let's explain some stuff. So first of all, I will be putting, whenever I discuss a datasheet, I will be putting it into current topic, so the timestampers know what we are talking about, and that's what's that gonna be. Second, I will once again, once the tier list is done, I will release a version with every unit name under the image, so you can look it up on my channel. Third, we are talking about competitive Warhammer 40k play. That means I want to at least talk about a RTT level, which is 3 games in like one local game store with a prize pool, or at least like a little trophy or a stat that is tracked somewhere, that kind of thing. I am not talking about having a game at home with your friends. If you're playing at home with your friends, you can play whatever datasheet you like. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm not telling you what to play and what not to play. This is specific for tournament level games. And last but not least, which is the most important part of this whole thing, we are talking about Ultramarines specifically. That means we are not going to judge a unit depending on how good it is in a different army. For example, the Black Templar Repulsor Executioner has full rerolls to hit, wound, and damage. We don't talk about that in this tier list because we're not playing Black Templars. Same, we do not talk about detachments we can't play in Ultramarines. So the Shadow Mark Talon or the Forgefather Seekers are not something I will be talking about. And that's basically it. So, I have been having some troubles with my internet lately, so I will be recording this stream as a backup. Let's just hope we do not go offline. And I will just start out with one single thing. So, we have been talking about these units for over 3.5 years at this point, so I will hopefully not explain every single unit and what it does. From the ground up, we will be talking about units together, and I will also talk about some things together in batches. For the timestampers, I have actually sorted the units into categories. We will start with the characters, then we will go into the battle line units, and then we go into the other infantry, and then we go into the vehicles, and right at the end we have the dedicated transports. And this is where we are going to start. Just to take this out of the discussion, it's always annoying when it's in at the end of the video. We will be talking about the Hammerfall Bunker, the Stormhawk Interceptor, and the whatever its name is. It doesn't matter. Those are 2 aircrafts and a building. They don't do anything relevant in competitive play. They're unplayable, and that's just what it is. I think the isn't the Storm Talon gunship, the one that gets a hit buff against infantry, is the least awful of them, because you could play it as a rapid ingress threat and just bully an Eldar army by shooting their stuff in their deployment zone through the towering, basically because you can ignore the line of sight with like walls and terrain bases, but that's not good enough to do anything. So the F tier is just done. This is all we will ever talk about here, and none of these are playable in the slightest. There is one airplane that's actually good, but we will not be talking about it in this category. So, without further ado, let's talk into the same way all of these tier list streams begin, which is our pretty blue boys. We will be talking about Robute Gilliman and Marneus Calgar. We will be talking about them together because they're related. Pun intended here. So, the previous S tier of Robute Gilliman and Marneus Calgar. Calgar and Gilliman are the best melee units in the entire codex. They have high damage melee attacks, and they have really good saves. They are both really durable. Durable for what you get for the points and for what a Space Marine can be. Both of these buff your army in significant ways. Marneus Calgar, if he's your warlord, he gives you command points. His units can fall back and do whatever it wants and advance whatever it wants. It's really good to give Gladius rules to a detachment that isn't Gladius. Robute Gilliman prevents him from being the warlord, but Gilliman, of course, gives you the free strat, the double oath, and he hits like a truck in combat, and that's basically what that is. So, how has the game changed since we talked about the nerf on Calgar? Gilliman went up 20 points, and I have been having a look at recent tournament results. So I've been checking every 5-0 and like 8-0, every single list that has been going undefeated at a really high level tournament with Ultramarines in it, and I've come to the conclusion that Gilliman is in every single Ultramarine list, and Calgar is in almost every single Ultramarine list. There's also a little thing which is Calgar gets worse without Gilliman, but Gilliman doesn't get worse without Calgar. Calgar is more important to Vanguard Spearhead and Anvil Siege Force. Robute Gilliman is more important for Iron Storm, and you run both of them in Stormlands and Gladius, and it is what it is. I guess technically Gilliman is more important in First Company, but nobody plays that, so that's what it is. So I will be putting Robute Gilliman into S tier right on front, and Calgar into S tier right behind Gilliman. you still see them often enough that it is still a really good choice. Next, we talk about Chief Librarian Tigorius. Tigorius is pretty good. You don't see him very often, but I think he's actually way better than people give him credit for. And he goes into Stern Guard or Blade Guard. I like him most in Blade Guard. He's the most important data sheet in Librarius Conclave because he does so much damage. Basically, he makes his unit harder to hit. He gives you some free strats, and his gun is really, really good. His gun is really, really good. If you haven't tried him in like a normal Gladius list, just play him and just start shooting things with his blast gun. It is actually pretty nuts. For that reason, I will be putting him into B tier, I think. Yeah, I think you can take him in a Gladius. You don't have to, and he is really, really good in Librarius Conclave, which isn't like the most important thing to be good at, but I think B tier is perfectly fine for Tigorius. Salutations, Crispy Kale. If we get a unique detachment, like the first company reskin, it would be pretty good. Yeah, I wonder what we're gonna get. Will they make a third first company, the third one in a row? I never know. But I don't think we will get a new detachment personally. But yeah, also important to mention, I will not be talking about the new data sheets, the Victrix Guard, the new Sicarius, the new Calgar, because of course it isn't relevant to what we have right now. We don't even know the points. Speaking of Sicarius, here's Captain Sicarius. We are talking about the old Captain Sicarius, which means the one that gives his unit scout, and he has the reactive move, which is measured from the model. Sicarius actually got nerfed when Chapter Approved 25 came out, because he now has to be on a 32mm base, and previously, because he's such an old model, he was on a 25mm base. That was actually pretty important because it meant you could charge into walls that were blocked by 1 inch with Sicarius, which actually gave him a really niche little application. In practice, though, this Sicarius model, giving the scout to a unit is pretty good. He hits like a captain without special rules in combat, which is like okay. It's basically, I think he goes into B tier because having scout in an impulsor with like a company heroes unit is pretty decent. You can also scout a unit of assault intercessors, and that's just like fine. Or like Blade Guard, you can give them infiltrate with a lieutenant and then scout with Sicarius and Vanguard. None of that is like amazing, but he has a purpose. He's not bad. Captain Uriel Ventress. Uriel Ventress got nerfed a while ago. You can no longer give Deep Strike to Centurions and Scouts, which actually makes them a lot worse. However, giving Deep Strike to a unit of like Eradicators, just like a small unit, to threaten a rapid ingress and then walk into melter range and blow a tank up is actually pretty good. He's also still a 12-inch aura of make your opponent's stratagems more expensive, which is really good. So, what do I think about Uriel Ventress? You can also give Deep Strike to things like Aggressors or Stern Guard veterans. You can give Deep Strike to Tigorius and then Rapid Ingress and Heroic for free. If you have the economy running, that's something. So what do I think about Captain Uriel Ventress? His sword is actually pretty good because it is strength 6, which is a pretty decent breakpoint. I think Captain Uriel Ventress goes into A tier. You don't see him all the time, but I still think Uriel Ventress is really good. Like you're never making your list like really bad if you take Uriel Ventress, but I would say he's like on the verge of being in B tier with the other two. That said, Vect is a powerful ability, especially now that melee armies are more common, and he just makes things like counteroffensive and like 2 CP -1 damage really unappealing to do, which is always something that's happening. Also, excuse me for 1 second. I have to check out if the Twitch thing is slow. Okay, I cannot check Twitch. Any viewers on Twitch, tell me if the stream is still working. If not, well, too bad. We're having a YouTube thing going on. Next, we have Lieutenant Titus from the video game Space Marine 2. He came out in the Barnes & Noble Sport game. His purpose is to give a unit... what was it again? He gives his unit sustained hits. He himself is a fight on death. He has a 5-up Feel No Pain. And his chainsword is like just 8 attacks, anti-infantry 2+, sustained hits. He gives sustained hits to himself, so he doesn't need to lead anything. And he gives it in range and shooting, which is pretty good. Yeah, I think Lieutenant Titus comfortably goes into C tier. He's conceptually pretty useful. The problem is he is just worse than a librarian or a normal lieutenant with most of the units you want to join him to, because the lethal hits on like a unit of bolters makes more sense. You can also still carry an enhancement like Fire Discipline to give yourself sustained and lethal. And I think the problem with Titus is honestly just the points cost. If Titus wasn't 70 points, if he was like 65 or like 55, something. I think 65 would be good enough for me. Because if he was 60 points, I would just run him as a solo model. I wouldn't even attach him to any units. I would just treat him like a mediocre lone op that isn't really a lone op, but he fights on death. He has 8 attacks. He can beat up a unit of Storm Boys or Eldar Rangers pretty easily, and if he gets charged by like 5 commandos, he still takes them to the grave with the fight on death, most likely. Because it's like you have 8 attacks with sustained, that's 8 hits. You wound on 2, so it's like 6 or 7 saves, and they're all AP 1. And if it's like orcs with like a 5-up save, you probably kill them all. Like it's not unreasonable to kill them all. Like it's pretty normal. So I'm putting him in C tier. He's pretty cool, but unfortunately his points don't work out in the way I would like to. Next current topic, we have a captain. The basic captain is a datasheet. He gives his unit free strat once per battle round. Salutations, Ero. A character hunter, exactly. Yeah, the captain is a character hunter. He can precision for free. Once per game, he can give himself the extra attacks. He can lead most of the melee units. Captains are pretty good. There's nothing wrong with having a captain in your list. I think captains are a solid contender to go into A tier. You see them with Stern Guards every now and then, and you see them with Assault Intercessors every now and then. It's usually a question of points and your list philosophy. If you have an Oath of Moment to spare to activate the rerolls with Gilliman, the Stern Guard is better. If you don't want to rely on rerolls and you would rather play on objectives, the Assault Intercessors are better, but yeah, a captain is never a bad choice. You can put a captain into every list, and the results back that up. You see captains in Stormlands, you see them in Gladius every now and then. Captains are pretty good. It's not even specific because you see them in a lot of lists. Nothing wrong with a captain. Captains are pretty good. Also, I think if a unit is good in Gladius specifically, I think that puts it a bit more ahead than if a unit is really good in Firestorm, because Gladius is the best attachment in the Codex, and if a unit is good in Gladius, that means it is just good in like most Space Marine lists that are ever written. Salutations and welcome to the stream, Eru. The Gravis Captain. The Gravis Captain is really cool. He halves damage just by his datasheet. He has toughness 6 and 6 wounds. He has either a damage-free gun with 2 shots, which is pretty decent, or you have 2 melee weapons, which can both be used at the same time. And all of them with damage 2, even the chainsword. The Gravis Captain has a good enhancement in almost every single detachment. The only exceptions are First Company and Librarius Conclave, I think. In every other detachment, you have a good enhancement for him, which is pretty good. Yeah, Crispy Kale says it correct. Solo Graph Captain with the Artificer armor is a mainstay in the game. It's a 2-up save and a 5-up Feel No Pain. In Iron Storm, you get the 4-up Feel No Pain without the 2-up save, but it's still really good. He can Armor of Contempt for free. He can put himself into Tactical Doctrine for free. He's basically impossible to kill with damage 2 melee attacks. It's annoying. The Gravis Captain goes top of A tier for me. Yeah, I think the Gravis Captain goes top of A tier for me. He's like a premier scoring unit. You pay 90 points with an enhancement, like between 90 and like 100, which is like okay. I think this guy is super good. And you see him more often than both of these. So maybe by the end Uriel Ventress goes down to B tier, but I do like him. The Captain with Jump Pack, on the other hand, is not very useful. The Captain with Jump Pack gives his unit +1 strength if it charged, and here you get the free strat. You have a bunch of gear options. Soon you will be able to take a chainsword and a storm shield, which is probably the best loadout you can give a captain, because then you get the extra wound and you don't hit on freeze. Yeah, our boy Felix, exactly, Hero. The Graph Captain, our boy Felix. That's who he is. Alright. Yeah, the Jump Pack Captain, you can join Vanguard Veterans and Assault Intercessors with Jump Packs. I don't think the Jump Pack Captain is very good. The only application I could see is making him a lone op in Vanguard and then rapid ingressing to steal primary objectives, but honestly, I'm not very convinced on him. In Raven Guard, this guy would be an A tier or S tier because of the turn 1 rapid ingress with a bunch of Vanguard veterans, but I think Vanguard veterans, spoilers, in Ultramarines are not very good. So I think he goes into D tier, actually. I don't value the Jump Pack characters very high in Codex Space Marines. The Phobos Captain. The Phobos Captain has a bad gun. He doesn't have any credible close combats. He has stealth, which is cute. He can join basically all the Phobos units. And you get... He infiltrates, that's pretty decent. And he gives you a redeploy for 3 units. Redeploy is pretty nice. You can redeploy back into reserves. It always allows you to do something like putting eradicators on the line and then playing a chicken game with your opponent, and then you just deploy them back. But I think the Phobos Captain goes into C tier. He's really expensive for 70 points for a model that doesn't fight, doesn't shoot, and isn't even a real lone op. I think you can do better than him. But the interaction between infiltrate, redeploy, deploying back into reserves is actually decent enough to not put him in D tier. And that's what that is. The Terminator Captain. He gives reroll charges to his unit and does the free strat thing. And he joins Terminators. This guy is really bad. He's not as durable as the Gravis Captain. He doesn't reroll charges if he's by himself. And he joins Terminators, which I think are even worse than the Jump Pack units. So I think he goes into D tier. Next, the Regular Lieutenant. The Regular Lieutenant gives lethal hits to his unit, and you can always fall back and shoot and charge. That's honestly pretty decent. I have been famous for hating on lieutenants because Hellblasters are bad and people should stop putting Hellblasters with lieutenants in their lists, but the lieutenant actually has a few applications which are pretty good. In Firestorm, you give him the Ignore Modifiers enhancement, so he and a unit of Blade Guard can just kill anything in the game, which is pretty rough. In Gladius, you can put Fire Discipline on him on a unit of 10 Intercessors, which is a 220 point shooting unit, I think, and it is just so many dice. They need Oath, to be fair, but you have like 42 shots, which hit on freeze, lethal sustained. You go fishing with the Oath, so you just go for more lethal hits, and all of that is just pretty good. You can kill most tanks with the Ignore Cover and +1 AP combo, you can, like, if it's not a 2-up safe tank with Armor of Contempt, you just kill it. Like a Doomsday Arc, it dies like 80% of the time. You take 18 damage off of a knight or something. It's pretty good. So for that reason, I think the Lieutenant goes into B tier. And I would actually put him ahead of Sicarius, but below Tigurius for the B tier slot. I think it's fine. Next, we have the Reaver Lieutenant. The Reaver Lieutenant gives lethal hits to his unit. He has scouts, and he doesn't have deep strike, so he actually makes Reavers worse by joining them. Yeah, the Reaver Lieutenant is actually terrible. I'm putting him on in D tier. I'm putting him ahead of the Terminators, because the Terminator captain can only lead bad units, and is expensive. While it's like 100 points. The Terminator captain is so expensive. He's like 95 or something. The Reaver Lieutenant is 55 points, but hey, at least he's cheap. You're still not gonna play him. The Phobos Lieutenant, Rip Bozo. His rule got nerfed, which is great because people can stop asking me about it on Discord. Yeah, the Phobos Lieutenant is also not very, very good. He's also 55 points. He gives his unit a Fire and Fade of D6 inches if they hit something. But there is a thing. You can put him in a unit of Incursors to give them lethal hits, and most importantly, they can then shoot, give something +1 to hit, and then move back behind cover so they don't get shot off the board. That is a cute combo. It has seen like very fringe use, and it doesn't synergize at all with Advance and Charge in the slightest, but I think it's too expensive to actually do in a game. Space Marines always struggle for points, and now we're investing even more points on a character when you could just invest a bit more and get 2 units of Incursors. But yeah, I think C tier is pretty appropriate. I think there is something that he needs to be no. Halo Bang Out, welcome to the stream. This is not this lieutenant. This is the Phobos Lieutenant, excuse me. The Combi Lieutenant is coming up, don't you worry. Yeah. Yeah, so we go into C tier. If he just gave a flat 6 move, he would be pretty, like, I would see it. If his Fire and Fate was flat 6 inches, I would probably see it. If Eliminators could go into units of 6, I would also see it, but it is what it is. All right, here we go. Yeah, Halo Bang Out, was looking forward to this one. The Combi Lieutenant. The Combi Lieutenant has Stealth and a 5-up Feel No Pain. And the glaring downside, he cannot be your Warlord. Oh no. Anyway, Infiltrate, Stealth. At the beginning of the game, you forget to mark an objective marker to reroll once to wound against it. And if your opponent moves close to this guy, he reactive moves, flat 6 inches. Which is pretty good. So, technically, the Lieutenant got nerfed. Because you can no longer reactive move twice in the same phase. Which means you can't reactive move with the strat and then reactive move with his ability in the same phase, which is a bit annoying, but it is what it is. His melee profile and his shooting profile is like complete garbage. My Lieutenant has lost close combats against a Scout Sergeant. This guy is so bad in combat. But that said, he also carries enhancements. In Vanguard, you can give him the 12-inch no-go zone, which is pretty nuts, so yeah. Here's something about the placement, and I'm looking back at all the previous tier lists I've done. And if anyone in the comments told me to put this guy into S tier, I would genuinely agree. Yeah. I think the Combi Lieutenant is like the best data sheet in the game. That isn't like an epic hero. I think this guy is so good. And I don't understand why he's so good. Like, he doesn't do any damage. That's basically the only bad thing about him. But what he does is so good. He's a lone op. he infiltrates, he reactive moves, he has a feel no pain, so he's actually like statistically unlikely to die to something like 3 Inceptors or like one guy with a damage 5 shot or something. It's really, really good. Yeah, this guy is good. And you get the reroll once to wound thing, which also, if you call the correct objective marker, which is a skill issue, he's really good, yeah. And he gives lone up to Gilliman because he's infantry, and then they lone up each other, which, yeah, good model. Pretty good model. Have nothing more to say about him. He does everything. All right, the Librarian. Librarians give a 4 invulnerable save to their units. They don't do any damage in combat because for some reason the psychic weapon is AP1 and D3 damage. But they do activate the Librarius Conclave period, and they can carry enhancements. This is a difficult one to add because my opinion of the Librarius Conclave has dropped a lot, actually. So I don't think I want to give this guy B tier. I think librarians are too narrow. The fact that they cannot co-lead a unit is actually really narrow. And for that reason, I'm tempted to put them in C tier. Yeah, I'm putting the librarian in C tier. And while we're here, let's talk about the other 2 librarians also. We have the Terminator Librarian, which gives sustained hits to a unit of Terminators. And they also, what was the other thing? They get a 4 Feel No Pain against psychic attacks, which was really good against Thousand Suns a while ago. And the Phobos Librarian, which gives -1 to hit and 12-inch lone up to a unit of Phobos Marines for 70 points. So I will be ranking these at the same time because they're all librarians, so I will just lump them together here. The Terminator Librarian goes into D tier. Yeah, Halo has called it. The Terminators are bad, but I'm actually putting him on top of D tier because he is actually the best leader for a Terminator unit, and I will explain why shortly. The Phobos Librarian goes into B tier, actually, but I'm putting him into the, like, with Sicarius and the Lieutenant, because it's a very specific toy. The Phobos Librarian gives you a 12-inch lone up on your infiltrators, which means your opponent cannot deep strike and shoot them, and they also get lone up, so they can't get shot from, like, down the field. That unit screens, like, is the best screening unit in the game, but you pay a lot of points for it. So it is a complete meta game unit where if indirect fire or low terrain, if you play on very, very low terrain formats or you play against a lot of indirect fire, this guy has a very specific use. Other than that, I think it's too expensive. I'm still putting him in B tier because it is something that has come up in the game of 40k. People have played the Librarian in Phobos armor, and it was fine. For what it does when there's too much terrain, yeah, he does nothing when there's too much terrain. It is basically if indirect fire is meta relevant, or if you play on terrain formats like UKTC, you can probably do this. There's also something to be said about being able to screen without a wall. So sometimes you have to screen your home fields on like a Dawn of War deployment map, but if you do that properly, you can be seen, and if your opponent like puts an exocrine there and says, hey, I'm just gonna shoot your backfield units and hope you don't get primary if I kill them, that is a very like reasonable play to make, and he shuts that down, which is like again, it is a very specific tool, just like Sicarius and Scout, but I think it's fine. Next, we will talk about the chaplains. We will be talking about all of them. So, what do the chaplains do? They give +1 to wound and something else. The normal one auto passes battle shock. The Terminator one gives you a 4 fear no pain against death wounds. The bike one gives you death wounds in shooting. And the jump pack one does mortal wounds in combat and no one cares. So, chaplains in Ultramarines have a big problem. And that problem is Oath of Moment. Oath of Moment gives +1 to wound. And I know you don't always have Oath of Moment on your target. But this is where I will break a lance here. The regular chaplain goes into C tier, behind the captain. +1 to wound on a cheap unit like Assault Intercessors would be pretty good. Yeah, we are not including the Victrix in this video. So, +1 to wound on like a unit with lots of attacks is like conceptually decent. The Battle Shock thing is good, and the 5-up thing is good. The problem is he's just worse than giving lethal hits most of the time. And this is what it is. Terminate Chaplain is the best. I disagree, actually. I think the Terminator Chaplain is the worst. Let's get to the reason why. The Bike Chaplain goes into D tier. Because Outriders are a skirmish unit, and you don't want to make them more expensive. You can give them, like, there is no synergy with reroll wounds in this codex because you don't reroll wounds at all. And the enhancements you can put on him in Stormlands are like nice to have, but motorcycles are just annoying to move on terrain layouts. It's annoying. Even in Stormlands, you don't take Outriders anymore because now you have to pay 2 CP you don't have to make them auto advance 9. So I think they're bad. I think Outriders are bad, and that's why the Chaplain is bad. The Jump Pack Chaplain has the exact same issue, and though he joins slightly better units. The problem is Vanguard Veterans and Ultramarines I think are bad. I think you shouldn't play Vanguard Veterans and Ultramarines. They're only good in Raven Guard. And yeah, exactly. Let's get it said it perfectly. And you can put him into a unit of Jump Pack Intercessors, but Jump Pack Intercessors are just better as a unit of Jump Pack Intercessors. Instead of buying a Chaplain for them, you can just play 2 units. Yeah, and Blood Angels. But again, Ultramarine tier list, we're not talking about other chapters here. This is for Ultramarines specifically. So this is why they're bad. So let me tell you why the Terminator Chaplain actually sucks. The Terminator Chaplain has a good rule with the 4-up Feel No Pain against mortal wounds. That is pretty good. The problem is, more than any other unit, he joins Terminators. Normal Terminators have a datasheet rule that says if you attack the Oath target, you get a bonus to hit. And you know what you don't get if you attack the Oath target? +1 to wound, because you already have +1 to wound from Oath. And now we go to Assault Terminators. Now, Assault Terminators don't have a datasheet rule that says +1 to wound or +1 to hit against Oath. So, in theory, the Chaplain would be good for this, right? Incorrect. Let me tell you why. Lightning Claws are unplayable. You don't play with Lightning Claws. You don't want to be a free wound model, and you don't want to be 1 damage on an expensive melee unit. You don't play with Lightning Claws. Thunder Hammers and Storm Shields hit on 4s. If your melee unit hits on a 4+, it needs Oath of Moment. And now you can guess what Oath of Moment gets you. It gets you +1 to wound. You know what else gives you +1 to wound? This dumbass down here. He doesn't work. The units he joins don't need him. It is so bad. He is worse than the Librarian, because the Librarian at least gives you a bonus with the Oath. He doesn't give you anything. He is purely here for the Feel No Pain. And let's be completely straight. You are not playing a thing. It's so bad. And that's why I'm actually putting him on the bottom here. Honestly, the Reaver Lieutenant is better than all of these Chaplains, so yeah. The regular Chaplain has potential if he was just more relevant than the Lieutenant at all. Alright. Next, we have the Judiciar. The Judiciar gives you... you counter the point that the Termite Chap would be good against armies like Dark Angel with Wrath of the Rocks -1 to wound. Orcs Warhorde with the thing. The problem is you are not doing damage against these armies either, even if you have the +1 to wound. Yeah, and you also have a +1 to wound strat in Gladius. That's also correct. Let's get it. The problem is you are not doing any damage anyway into those targets. You are not going to kill 20 orc boys with thunder hammers, even if you wound them on 2s instead of 3s. And you're not going to do any damage against Deathwing Knights because they have -1 damage. They and a 4 feel no pain against mortals. They don't care. It doesn't do anything. And that's the problem. Terminators need Oath to do damage, and he makes Oath pointless. And that's why in Ultramarines, the Terminator Chaplain is terrible. Next, we talk about the Judicia. The Judicia gives fight first to his units, and he gives you. I think he gets more attacks the more units, characters he kills in combat. That will never come up. Don't even try. The Judicia. This is like the noob unit. Let me tell you why. So the most common thing you do is you put the Judicia into a Blade Guard squad, and then they have fight first, and they can sit on an objective. And it's like, in my opinion, it's the most mediocre thing I have ever seen in my life. Because the problem for the Judicia is just that Blade Guard are bad. So conceptually, the Judicia is pretty useful, but he just isn't. Because Blade Guard are so bad, and you don't play him in anything else. That's my whole problem. There's also a bit of a preference on what you play. I value being reactive more highly in a game of competitive 40k than being a quote unquote problem, so to speak. The ability of the lieutenant to do more damage proactively, and if I get charged, to fall back and do something else. That is also a thing. He also in Ultramarines directly competes with Tigorius, and I think Tigorius having a gun and having free strats is, and also having a defense boost is very comparable to the Judicia. I don't think it's terrible. The problem is just Blade Guard are not good enough. If Blade Guard were better, or if he could join Victrix, fine. Yeah, cut loose, let him hunt. That's it. The Tech Marine. Fans of the channel know I have trash talked the Tech Marine a lot. I have had arguments on Discord a lot of times about how I do not care about the rule that gives him bonus attacks if a vehicle dies. It never comes up. And and I don't mean you will never get the bonus attacks. I say you will never actually go into combat with anything. And if you do, you still hit on freeze because he is not a combat character. He has a weapon skill of 3+. The Tech Marine is not bad. He heals the vehicles and he gives +1 to hit, and he's pretty cheap. And Halo has correctly analyzed it. In the last 2 months, the most successful Ultramarine lists across the board have been Ironstorm lists. The most 5-0s I can see for Ultramarines have been Ironstorm lists. It's like a split between Ironstorm, Stormlands, and then a bit of Gladius. But in Ironstorm, the Tech Marine is good, and that's why I have to concede. I'm giving him B tier. Yeah, he's a solid action monkey. He carries enhancements in Ironstorm. In my opinion, Ironstorm is pretty tight on budget. So, oftentimes you shouldn't even take him in Ironstorm. Because you take the Lieutenant, you take Gilliman, because the Lieutenant can carry the fallback enhancement. And the other enhancements in Ironstorm aren't that good, in my opinion. I think having a Gravis Captain with a 4 Feel No Pain is just better than having a Tech Marine. Most of the time, but... And then you run Incursors for the +1 to hit. But objectively speaking, when I look at the tournament results, I see Ironstorm with 2 Tech Marines. I see Ironstorm with 1 Tech Marine. I see Ironstorm with 0 Tech Marines. It's just, he pops up, so I do have to give him the B tier. I think it's only fair, right? That's what it is. Alright. Next, we have the Apothecary. The Apothecary sucks. I will not even explain what he does, because he's so bad. He goes trash. Next. The Apothecary Biologist. The Apothecary Biologist used to be the best character in the Codex, and he has had quite a fall from grace over the years. He's really expensive, he gives you lethal hits on a Gravis unit. The biggest problem with the Apothecary Biologist is the Gravis units are really bad. The Gravis units are really, really bad right now because they just die to anything. Aggressors got cheaper, they still die to anything. Eradicators are good, but only in like small units. And that's just what it is. And heavy intercessors are good in exactly one detachment, and that detachment is called Anvil Siege Force. Salutations, mighty Ilo-san. So, what does that lead us? Where does the... Oh, excuse me. I've put the YouTube chat below the thing. Nobody saw the YouTube chat. Excuse me. So, what does the Apothecary Biologist do? Objectively, he is the best way to give an enhancement to a Gravis unit. And he is really, really, really necessary in Anvil Siege Force. And I am a big fan of Anvil Siege Force. And I want to put him in B tier, but I don't think it's happening. Salutations, H-Tab. You made it in time for the end, brother. We have a lot more to go. Look at this. We have so much more to do. The tier list is not done yet. Yeah, I cannot justify B tier. I'm putting him in C. I'm putting him above the Judicia, though, because I hate the Judicia. Yeah, but... yeah, that he needs a buff, and it's honestly not his fault. It's the fault of the Gravis units. That's what it is. All right. Next, we have the regular Ancient. Hello, Adept. What units would I recommend for running Gladius against Emperor's Children? Vindicators and Redemptor Dreadnoughts. Their only way to kill them is with mortal wounds, basically, because they don't have high AP. So you need like 2 Demon Princes to charge 1 Vindicator to get rid of it, and if you can just prevent that from happening with screens, you just shoot them to death. Emperor's Children are very elite, and they can't really do anything. Yeah, triple Redemptor Storm. S tier for the Ancients. Here we go. He can join Intercessors and get the double shot rule. Let's get it. You are a fan of the channel. I can see it. Yeah, so the regular Ancient. He gives +1 OC, which is like whatever. And the Ancient himself has a 4 Feel No Pain while on an objective. So what is the deal with this guy? He has a normal bolt rifle or a normal power sword, so no damage to anywhere. If you're playing a Crusade game, he's pretty good. But outside of that, he's pretty bad. Yeah, Ancients are bad. I think they're really bad. I think I'm putting them with the Apothecary here. There will be one Ancient I can excuse. So let's talk about both of them. So, first the Terminator Ancient. He gives +1 to hit if your unit is hurt, and he gives +1 to wound if your unit is dead. I think the Terminator Ancient is like better than the Terminator Captain, because you can at least get 2 enhancements on the same body, but it's like terrible. Now, I have a thing to say about the Blade Guard Ancient, okay? Okay, hear me out. The Blade Guard Ancient has a 4-up invuln, and he can join only Blade Guard and gives them once per game +1 OC. Halo, I actually will convince you to have the Blade Guard Ancient on your head, and I will tell you why. And it is such a stupid reason. The Blade Guard Ancient actually goes into C tier, right above the Lieutenant, and I will tell you why. Yes, H-Tab. He is solo. He doesn't do a single thing. But he is 45 points. And he's the only model in the Codex you can get for 45 points. So if your list is 1955, you run the Blade Guard Ancient. He doesn't do anything. But you put him in reserve You cleanse an objective, and that's it. That is all he does. There is nothing else going on. That is the only thing he is doing. So technically, he should be in B tier, but I will not put him in B tier. That's it. Company heroes. All right. Let's talk about company heroes. Company heroes are pretty good. They got more expensive, which has definitely hurt them. You saw like 2 units of these on occasion. But ever since they got more expensive, you don't play company heroes that much. They're always -1 to wounds. They have so many health points, and being a 4 wound model is really, 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 really good in this metagame because there is so much damage free going around. So here's the thing. I think the second unit of company heroes is in C tier, but the first unit with Marneus Calgar is in S tier. So I would like to break the difference and settle for A. What do you think, chat? I think they're A tier still. They used to be S tier, but yeah, with Marneus they're completely nuts. Without Marneus they aren't. Keep in mind, Victrix Guard is not out yet. Victrix Guard is coming soon. We do not have points for them, so we cannot evaluate company heroes with Victrix Guard in the game. Yeah, they're also good with Uriel Ventris, completely agreed, so I will put them in A tier. I'll put them ahead of the captain, but below the Gravis captain, maybe. Yeah, because keep in mind, the second unit of heroes is always worse than the first. They're S because you always take them. Do you? Calgar always with company heroes every time. Calgar in Vanguard does not always use company heroes. In Vanguard, you sometimes go with the Eradicator brick, and in Stormlands, you can actually play Calgar by himself. You don't need it. But yeah. Yeah, above Uriel for sure. Let's put him top of A. I'm gracious enough to give them top of A. Yeah, we have the best company heroes. That's true. Let's put him in A tier. I think that's fine. All right, let's talk about battle line units. Let's put all 4 of them on blast here. Let's talk about some battle line units. All right. Excuse me. Our troops don't have any benefits. They don't get anything special anymore because we don't have a mission pack that rewards battle line units. Let's go with the easy one. Tactical Marines split into 2 units, and they can have some special weapons. They go into D tier. I'll put them ahead of the Reaver Lieutenant. For the chatters who are about to say, but Tobias, what about that one Ironstorm list where the Tactical Marines were in a Rhino and they were split up? I don't care. They suck. Don't play Tactical Marines. They're bad. Alright. Heavy Intercessors go top of C. Let me tell you why. They have -1. They have +1 to their save. And against AP, against damage 1 attacks, they are so cheap for having so many wounds on the board. And their shooting is legitimately scary. Every single Heavy Intercessors has 2 shots with damage 2. That adds up. Especially with some stuff. The only problem they have right now, the damage-free blast meta. That's the problem. I think they're the best Gravis unit by far, but they're still just not good enough. Assault Intercessors go into B tier, and I will put them with Tigurius, because they are specifically here for the captain. The captain is an A tier, and they go with the captain. You don't run them by themselves. It's just what it is. Last but not least, regular Intercessors. Battle Brothers, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but regular Intercessors are pretty good. Yes, mighty Ilo-san. Salutations, Sunniv, welcome to the stream. Yeah, it's a thing. Intercessors are pretty good. The Intercessors can hold your backline. They sticky it, and then they can walk forward on turn 3 and upwards. You can also use Intercessors as a damage unit to give them like stuff. Do you think Lieutenant is okay with Intercessors for the lethal spam? Yes. Adept, if you rewind the stream back to when I talked about the lieutenant, I noticed I mentioned that. That's why the lieutenant is actually in B tier for that specific combo. Yeah, intercessors are really good, and keep in mind, ballistas dreadnoughts in Gilliman got more expensive, so you can't always afford the best unit you want. So sometimes you have to. You don't need to apologize. You were not here. It's completely fine. Yeah, I think sometimes you have to run intercessors because you cannot afford anything else. So intercessors are pretty good. I'm putting them below the Gravis captain, but ahead of the captain, honestly. They are a really good backfield unit. C? No, they're actually better than C. Halo, they're actually better than C. And they have multiple applications. Alright. Next we have Scouts. Scouts are the tried and true unit. Scouts infiltrate, Scouts scout. Scouts have weapons that don't do anything, that doesn't matter. And Scouts are 70 points, which are pretty cheap. So what do we do with Scouts? In the last tier list, I actually put Scouts down into A tier. And let me tell you why. When Chapter Approved 2025 came out, oh, and they have up-down, don't you forget. I actually didn't play Scouts until the data slate. Let me explain to you why that is. When Challenger cards were in the game, scoring secondaries was terrible. If you scored secondaries while Challenger cards were in the game, you gave your opponent free stuff. It was terrible. I just threw every single secondary I scored in the trash. Unless it was something I scored partially. And that means Scouts were completely useless. Scouts also didn't do any damage against Knights and Death Guard, and you just needed to kill Knights and Death Guard. That's why in the last tier list, Scouts got downgraded by an entire tier, because they didn't do anything. Scoring units were pointless. It was only important to screen and kill your opponent. Now, with the loss of Challenger cards, things have changed. Scouts are going rightfully back to S tier. Yeah, Scouts are good. Scouts are really good. Scouts, they are your scoring piece. Excuse me. Here we go. Yeah, Scouts do the job. They're your screen. They're your scoring piece. If you can conserve them for the mid game, they can still score something in your opponent's backline, which is good. It's what they do. Nothing bad to say about Scouts. You probably take one unit in every single list. Next, we have Infiltrators. Infiltrators are probably the best units in the entire codex, but they are too expensive. And I don't mean they're too expensive in a way where, oh, this unit would be really good if it was cheaper. It's not really that they're too expensive in terms of what is fair, because I think you pay exactly what you want for Infiltrators, but what you don't have the points for Infiltrators, because everything is getting so expensive. Yeah, you think you take the Combi Lieutenant over Scouts? I agree. That's why I'm putting the Lieutenant over the Scouts. I agree. I think that's correct. Infiltrators infiltrate, but most of the time they screen your backline. Nothing can jump within 12, which disables all of the extra Deep Strike rules. It disables double jumps. Nobody can use baseball bats. And that's just what it is. The problem is just the points. 100 points for a screening unit is so much, but they do the damn job. If you can afford Infiltrators, you always do, but you can't. I'm probably putting them in A tier, because if the captain makes the cut, Infiltrators make the cut, but it is a shame. I have been cutting Infiltrators from list, but not because I want to, it's because I have to. It's so annoying, but I just have to. Next, we can talk about the two favorites here. Reavers and Incursors. How low would you make Infiltrators auto take? 80 points. 90 is pretty close, but I think at 80 points they would be in. I would run 3 squads in every list. Yeah, for 80 points I would take 3 squads in every list. I think for 90 points I would take 1 squad in every list. Yeah, 80 would be insane. They were 80 points when the index came out. I'm pretty sure they were really cheap. They were more expensive than intercessors, if I'm not crazy. Alright, let's talk about Reavers and Incursors. Both of these units are pretty good. Reavers have scouts and they have precision. They ignore terrain functionally. You do some stuff on terrain formats where multiple levels of buildings are actually important. You cannot 1 inch off the wall block them because they can just charge into the 2nd floor without losing movement, which is pretty good. And they cause a lot of battle shock tests and they reduce enemy OC, which is honestly not bad. Like, Reavers are legit. Reavers go into B tier. I'm putting them probably behind Tigurius. Yeah, you have better options than Reavers most of the time, but there's nothing wrong if you like Reavers. They deny primary, which is more important than it used to be. And it's what it is. They also have Deep Strike. Always forget that. Adept, you always heard Reavers were terrible. That has been the case for 95% of their lifespan. But 1 year ago, they got a buff. And ever since then, they got really good. However, Reavers have one problem. And that problem is the Incursor. Let me talk about Incursors. Okay. Incursors, if they hit something, you get +1 to hit. That is really good. Because you know what sucks? Rolling bad dice. You should never blame the dice if you lose a game. Hey, sometimes your Vindicator with 8 shots only rolls 4 shots, and then you roll 4 2s, and then you re-roll that into 3 1s. And that's just bad luck. You know what you want to do? You want to mitigate bad luck. Because if you play 25 games of Warhammer, 25 turns of Warhammer in a 5-round GT, Incursors are so helpful. You will have bad luck in one of those. Yeah, it's like blaming lag. If you play 25 turns of Warhammer, you will get unlucky in at least 3 of those turns. And you will roll a bunch of 2s. You know what Incursors prevent? Rolling 2s. Incursors are goated. They're the absolute goated guys. In addition to that, that's not even all they do. They have sustained hits 1 on their combat knives of AP 1, which is pretty good actually. It's worse than Reavers because Reavers just have an attack more, but it's still good enough. Like 3 attacks with sustained is pretty decent. Their guns are assault, so they can always advance and charge and shoot if you put the Doctrine on, or if you play Stormlands, you can just do everything. And they have Scout, so they also scout before the game begins, so you can stage them up. And that's not even it, they still have something else. They have the Haywire Mine. The Haywire Mine says if your opponent walks within 3 inches of you, or you walk within 3 inches of your opponent, you will toss the Haywire Mine. On a 2+, you do D3 mortal wounds. And if it's a vehicle, you do D6 mortal wounds. Let me tell you in which situations the Haywire Mine is good. If your opponent plays Eldar, and your opponent charges you with 5 Banshees. 5 Banshees charge you on the objective. They walk in. Okay, they have fight first. They do all of their things. So what happens? You roll the Haywire Mine. 2+. Oh, it worked. How many mortal wounds? 3? Okay, 3 Banshees are dead. Okay, what is hitting you? 5 attacks? Okay, 2 Incursors are still alive. 6 attacks are hitting them back. Oh, all the Banshees are dead. You still hold the primary. Oops. Look what just happened. Or if you run, or they take 2 on the sergeant, that's fair, but then they still lose 1 model. Like, it still happens. Like, and if they lose the sergeant, they lose most of their good attacks, because if it's just 3 normal banshees, that's like 6 attacks. That's pretty unlikely to kill you. So, and then there's the offensive way. You can just advance and charge into a tank, shoot the tank with your guns, and if the tank gets lucky, you just throw the haywire mine into their stupid face and kill it. The 2d3 model wounds are so strong. It is unbelievable. Yes, the 2+ can always go wrong, but that's not the reason you take these guys. The reason you take these guys is because they do all of the things I just described all at once. This might be controversial. They go into S tier. Incursors are better than scouts. Incursors are better than scouts. If I have a 1990 point list and I have scouts in it, I'm replacing them with intercessors. Incursors, excuse me. I think they're better. I also think they're better than intercessors, but I think intercessors are better for the specific role of being a backline unit, while the incursors are good as your like screening and skirmishing unit. Yeah. Yeah, that's a debate. I do think so. Yeah, I do think so, yeah. I agree. Alright, yeah. Oh, and one thing I didn't even mention. S tier is not a debate. I agree. Yeah. One thing I didn't even mention. If you have something that has sustained hits 2 or critical hits on a 5, like a Gladiator Reaper or Inceptors with Assault Bolters, Incursors go completely nuts on that. There's one thing that is annoying. Units that can reactive move after you shoot. Because if you hit them, they move away and you don't get your hit buff. Eldar, for example. But the biggest problem was actually Genestealer Colts, because they could just go back into reserves if you shoot them. No longer. That got nerfed. So it's good. Yeah, fish. We go fishing, lads. Alright. Next, we will talk about some of the lesser seen skirmish units here. Jump pack intercessors. These guys do mortal wounds when they charge. They have a power fist. They have 2 plasma pistols most of the time. And they move 12 inches. They have deep strike. And yeah, jump pack intercessors are pretty good. I'm putting them ahead of the captain in A tier. Yeah, JPIs are good. If you run 2 of these in a Gladius, I'm not even upset. Like, I completely get it. If you run 1 of these in a Gladius just to have up-down, I actually ran JPIs in Vanguard just to discourage my opponent from charging me. A tier, yes, they are A tier. It is never bad to put JPIs into your list. They charge something. The question is, do you take JPI or do you take Incursors? There is something to be said about something that moves 12 inches. Not convinced in Gladius? They do, you do get Honor the Chapter, though. That's pretty decent. And Advance and Charge is always good for them, because it means you get more models into range to do the mortal wounds. Yep. They are basically just a skirmish unit, but there is never really a bad reason to take these guys. Like, there's never a bad reason. Yeah. It's like, it's fine. Like, they're not outstanding, but it's better than a specific purpose. They're better than just in one detachment. It's just what it is. Yeah, gasp. Too many ones on those Terminator saves by Elo. Okay. Here we have Infernus Marines. Infernus Marines cause battle shocks with -1. They are AP1 flamers with strength 5. In Firestorm, they give you strength 6. They work in Overwatch. They work out of the firing deck of an Impulsor. These guys actually only have one flaw. They're 90 points. They're only good in Firestorm, exactly, and they are 90 points. Like, yeah, it's fine in Salamanders, they have OC2. And the thing you always have to remember, too, is 5 Intercessors have 20 shots, and 5 Infernus Marines have like 5d6. That's like 4, like 14, like 17 and a half shots. It's like okay, but it's not like the best thing you've ever seen. So yeah, these guys go into C tier, I think. I'm putting them below Titus, I think. If they were 80 points, it's like fine. Like it's like yeah, it's like 5 times 3.5 shots. And it's like sure they auto hit, but it's not like great. The Death Wound strat puts them in the stratosphere, but only in Salamanders because you get the rerolls. Because without the rerolls, that strat is like terrible. You pay 2 command points to do like 4 mortal wounds. It's like the worst grenade you've ever seen. Yeah, I want to like Infernus Marines. I painted mine from the starter box beautifully, but it hasn't come together as of yet. I'm putting them ahead of the Ancient though, because unlike the points filler, they have actually something they could potentially do. Suppressors. Suppressors have been falling for me. They have been bad at the beginning, and then they slowly got pretty good when they dropped in points, but ever since then they've gotten worse. So they are like JPI, a skirmish unit. They have guns that never hit anything because they hit on force. But they do move 12 inches. They have the weird -1 to hit effect. Spoiler alert here. If you hit something and the incursors die, the -1 to hit never applies again. Because the -1 to hit from the suppression effect only works while the suppressors are on the board. So if your opponent just kills them first, they lose the -1 penalty, which is pretty bad. Honestly, that's like super annoying. They don't really kill Marines. They have heavy weapons, which is cool in Anvil Siege Force, and they are pretty cheap. That is like the best thing about them. They're 75, but unfortunately Scouts are 70. I think if these guys were 65 points, they're in a very similar boat to Titus, which is why I'm putting them in C tier too. If they were a bit cheaper, I think you would see them more often. I think I'm liking them less than Titus, but not by much. I think you would see them as a scoring unit, but yeah, AP1 is annoying with cover, and you don't want to spend strats on them. Either my fix for suppressors would honestly be either make them 60 points or 65 points, or let them be in units of 6. Because if they were available in 6-man units, I think you could start buffing them with strats, and that would honestly be cool. Alright, here we have the better version of them, and we will be talking about all the Gravis units at the same time, I think. Because it's funnier that way. Yeah, we do got better scorers, like exactly JPI and Scouts for those two purposes. Alright, let's go in order. First, we have Inceptors. Inceptors are honestly pretty good. The problem is just they are very easy to kill because they're Gravis Marines. They work best in Vanguard because they can up-down. They're never bad in Gladius if you like infantry Gladius a bit more. Because with Oath and Plasma, they actually kill stuff. Like, they do kill stuff. You can do some funny stuff with the Bolters and Oath and Incursors. It's like pretty decent. I think Inceptors go into B tier. Yeah, I think A. I think A or B. I think B is more realistic. The 6-inch Deep Strike, it's like fine, but 120 points is so expensive for a scoring unit. But it's like, yeah, I think they're in B tier. I'm putting them ahead of the of Tigurius though. I think they're fine. Aggressors. These guys go into C tier, and I'm honestly very willing to put them with the Apothecary Biologus, because basically their only problem is they die too fast. Yeah, Gravis is in a bad spot because they don't have invulns, they just die to damage-free blast attacks, and it's just expensive. Yeah, Aggressors go right into C tier. If they were a bit cheaper, you would consider them, but it's just what it is. Or if you got old Fire Discipline back. Now, Eradicators are a different unit. Eradicators are really good with Uri Ventris. If you give them Deep Strike, you can Deep Strike a small unit. You can walk into Melter range with Rapid Ingress and kill a tank. Because it actually hits really hard if you have +2 damage on full rerolls. And a grenade, potentially. That's pretty good. They are super annoying if they come out of a flank, but they are 100 points, so they are pretty expensive. I'm willing to put them in B tier. I just wonder where. Yeah, I think Eradicators are B. I'm optimistic about them. I don't think... I would appreciate it if they were a bit cheaper, but always keep in mind they also have full rerolls in Overwatch. And it is really scary if your opponent has a Rhino and they try to walk past a unit of Eradicators and you're just gonna spend it. Because you have full rerolls, you never know what happens. When you compare them to Retributors, they are vastly overcosted. That is fair, but also we can't play Retributors, so we have to judge them in context with what is going on here. Aggressors with Calgar sustain and lethal until you get obliterated next turn. Yeah, that's basically the problem. Aggressors, to push it back a bit for 1 second, aggressors also have one problem, which I will also mention when we talk about Centurions. Aggressors are a melee unit and a shooting unit, and outside of Stormlands, or outside of Marneus Calgar, you can never do both. Because you can't advance and charge and advance and shoot at the same time, unless you are in Stormlands or attached to Marneus Calgar, which actually makes aggressors pay for half of their kit, which cannot be used. And that is the problem. Yeah, I'm putting Eradicators in B tier. I honestly want to put them with the Inceptors. I think that's fine. They're worse than Inceptors, but not by much. Alright, Terminators. Let's judge both flavors here. New models coming up for Assault Terminators. I will not go over the datasheet rules because Terminators are ass. They are so bad. These guys go in D tier, and I'm putting them straight with the Librarian. If the Librarius Conclave was a bit better, I might actually be a bit more generous here. I will actually put the Assault Terminators in the furthest spot up, because having a 4-wound model is at least playable, but normal Terminators are really bad. It's like, put Assault Termis in F? No, they're not that bad, but they're pretty bad. They are pretty bad. It is a thing. Yeah, Mighty Elo, it is so annoying. The problem is just everything kills them. It's like... Alright, Vanguard Veterans. Vanguard Veterans, they got really cheap and have been popular. You can give them all Melter Pistols or 4-up Invuln, and they have been popping off in... Raven Guard. But again, we cannot judge Raven Guard because we can't play Raven Guard because this is an Ultramarines tier list. I have to be really honest, I don't like Vanguard Veterans at all. I'm sorry. I know you occasionally see a 5-man unit, but I think Jump Pack Intercessors are just better. Yeah, they're only good... Salamanders is a good shout. That's true, because of the Melter, but I don't think Vanguard Veterans are good. Like, I mean, if you are in a spot where your list is 1995, and you have JPI, would you spend 5 points to make them Van Vets? I mean, maybe, but I'm not even sure. Yeah, we don't combo with them. It's like, yeah. I think they go into C tier, though, because they're still a fast combat unit. I want to put them with the Judiciar. They have a different replacement with the JPI. I think they are similar enough without any like combos or buffs. I just think, yeah, it's just what it is. Blade Guard Veterans. These guys might actually go to the top of C tier. They are good with Tigorius. because they are genuinely annoying to kill with Tigorius because of the -1 to hit, and then in combat the reroll saves, and then the free heroic and stuff. That's actually annoying. Yeah, but they are pretty bad, and they got more expensive. That was the worst part. I was so mad when that update came out. I was really mad. The 6-man unit got more expensive. Why are they considered bad? They are 3 wound models, which is with less toughness than a Gravis Marine. So they are actually pretty easy to kill with damage-free weapons, and they don't do enough damage. And they are only strength 5, and they only have 4 attacks per model, which is like, it's like okay, but it's not good enough to kill like a real melee unit. Like 8-bound rip these guys into pieces, or like Death Shroud Terminators. It's like they don't do anything against -1 damage unless you're in Firestorm. It's like mediocre. They don't punch up. That's the problem. They are expensive and they don't punch up. And that's basically what it is. I think the only way to play them, in my opinion, is with the Judicia, which I hate, or with Tigorius, who I actually really like. So they have been seeing tournament play, so I can't put them in like D or C. No, I think I can put them in C, but not D. They're better than D. I will actually put them with heavy intercessors, as like this unit has so much potential and they're just held back by bad rules. Mukip, you have a pretty good point. A 3-man unit for 80 points. With like lands and stuff, it's like fine as like an independent skirmish piece. My problem is Incursors and Reavers and JPI and regular intercessors are fighting for that same spot. They are great for us is the thing, because you can do some stuff. I agree, but honestly, if they didn't go up 10 points, I would put them like here in B tier, but it is C tier. Blade Guard for C tier. The fact that they went up 10 points is like so bad. If you see Uriel, you probably see Blade Guard veterans. I disagree. You probably see company heroes. Stern Guard. Stern Guard. This is always an interesting conversation. Stern Guard are a unit that is crazy. Were they 70 points before? No. Shadow Warrior, the 3-man unit is the same cost. The 3-man unit of Blade Guard is still 80 points, but the 6-man unit went from 190 to 180 to 190. So the 6-man unit went up, and that is my problem with Blade Guard. Alright, Stern Guard, my beloved. Ever since they got buffed, they have been popping off. I was a bit of a Stern Guard hater, and I still prefer Assault Intercessors with my captain, full disclosure, but I think Stern Guard are pretty good. I'm willing to put them in B tier ahead of Reavers. That's what my gut feeling is. They reroll Oath. The problem with Stern Guard is they're so deceptive because they don't actually do what you think they do. So you think this is a shooting unit. You think exactly what Shadow Warrior says. You believe putting 10 Stern Guard with like a fire discipline and then shooting something is what you should do with Stern Guard. And counterproductively, that's actually not what you're doing. You should actually put Stern Guard as a 5-man unit to your captain so he can beat the crap out of something. A captain with reroll wounds with Finest Hour active will punch the piss out of anything unless it's -1 damage. It's crazy. Yeah, I think it's really close between like Assault Intercessors and Stern Guard, but I think I will put them ahead of Tigorius because you see them a bit more often than both. Yeah. Yeah, they punch so hard for a... Yeah, Honor Vehement, Crispy Kale. That's why the captain is up here in A tier. Yeah, Tigorius likes wound rerolls. My problem with that is I don't like Tigorius in a unit that isn't durable. Because it just dies, but... Yeah, Mudkip, you do have a point. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. It's not what I'm into, and it's not what most people are using, but it's not bad. I would never put Sternguard in C tier. I think they're way better than C tier. But yeah, I think in specific applications, Sternguard are pretty good. I don't think they're always good if we go through my alphabet here. Next, we have Centurions. Do them, yeah, excuse me, I was fumbling with the microphone. Infantry slots are a bit tight for Ultramarines at the moment. Yeah, it's a thing. All right. What do people use the Stern Guards for? Yeah, chat will answer you, Shadow Warrior. So let's talk about Centurions. We have Assault Centurions and Devastator Centurions. So where do we put these units? I think Assault Centurions are very specifically good in Stormlands. And that is the same reason why I think aggressors have a problem. You have a really good melee weapon. Actually, it is sustained hits 2 against monsters and vehicles, and it is damage free with like strength 10 twin linked. It's pretty crazy. And don't worry, Alvaro, we are not making Paul angry. Centurions are cool. Assault Centurions are good in Stormlands because you can give them 1 CP, advance and shoot, and they always have advance and charge in that detachment, which means you can just disembark from the Raven, advance, shoot your melter guns and your bolters, and then punch the absolute piss out of a tank. They will kill it. It is like I've seen these guys flatten a Land Raider in like 1 activation. It is really good. And they have 4 wounds per model, and the bolters are actually pretty legit at killing like Eldar and stuff, because it's like you have to think it's 18 shots. Basically, I think you should look at Centurions like they're Dreadnoughts, basically. Look at Centurions like they're Dreadnoughts. Basically, instead of having 1 model with 12 wounds, you have 3 models with 4 wounds, and it's pretty similar. The throat is giving out like, at some point here. Okay. Assault Centurions go into B tier, actually. And I will actually put them pretty far up. Right behind the Tech Marine. No, I think ahead of Tigurius, but behind Sternguard. That's where I will put them. B tier, ahead of Tigurius. Yeah, it is only Stormlands, but they are really, really strong in Stormlands. It is... You don't run like 10 of them, but yeah. Assault into B, yeah, they're really good in Stormlands, Halo. You should try it. They are so good in Stormlands. Centurion Devastators. Someone brought up Raven Guard, and I will tell you right now, you can play the same army in Ultramarines. It is a bit worse because all of our stuff got more expensive, and we cannot fall back and shoot in Vanguard. But Ultramarine Vanguard has different strengths than the Shadow Mark Talon. For example, we have the sticky strat. So, Centurion Devastators are only really good in Vanguard because they can go back into reserves, come and shoot something. But I also think Centurions are pretty decent in Firestorm because they get Assault. If you have Assault to mitigate their slow movement, they're like fine. They're a lot worse coming off the board edge. Crispy, that is what Raven Guard is doing. Raven Guard Centurions do not deep strike. They also come off the board edge. It's completely fine. The deployment zones in Chapter Approved 2025 are way better than the old ones, because layout 7 and 8 were unplayable for coming off the board edge. But with like every other layout, like layout 1 is the most annoying one, and layout 8 is the second most annoying, but other than that, like, it is fine to come off the thing. To come off the board edge. You sometimes see Centurion Devastators in, like, Land Raiders on occasion, and that's why I'm putting them in B tier, but I will concede it's the bottom of B. I'm putting them behind Sicarius. It is Very fringe, but they are so strong. Centurion Devastators just kill stuff. If they shoot something, it dies. B tier it is. Bottom of B. Next, we have the Invictor Tactical Warsuit. It has Scout 8, it has a bunch of guns that do 0 damage. For some reason, it's Strength 14, which is more than the Dreadnoughts, and it dies to anything. This thing is so garbage, I can't even explain where. I don't even know if they could fix it. The datasheet rule is also bad. It has a rule where if you shoot a Phobos unit in range, it shoots back, which is like terrible. Yeah, it always dies. Let's not waste time. Yeah, it's D tier. I think it's better than Terminators, but like, do you guys care? I don't think so, right? It kind of has a use of the distraction card effects. You could use a Brutalis Dreadnought for that job, and it would be the same. Alright. Yeah, why is the Fist stronger than the Redemptor? That is completely true. Alright, let's talk about motorcycles. For everyone in chat who doesn't know, I actually have a motorcycle license. So I am qualified to evaluate these Outriders here. 125 versus 160 is a pretty big points difference. It's like, is it at that point? Is it that like I get what you're saying, but it's like, I would rather distract my opponent with a good unit. All right, let's not waste time. All right, Outriders. For a bit, they were like a decent skirmish unit, but I think they slipped from B into C tier because without the extra Calgar CP, we cannot splurge to give them advance and thing. F for Outriders, no, I don't agree with F. They are damage 2 on the charge. They have strength 5. They are still fast. The problem is just they don't have enough attacks to be a real damage unit, and they don't have the strat support to be like a good skirmish unit. I think they go towards the bottom of C tier. Because again, if the Stormland strat was still in the game, they would be bottom of B. Now they go like bottom of C. Here we go. They are good at move blocking too. Don't forget, let's get it. They are good at move blocking because they have really big bases. Don't see their benefits in UKTC terrain at all. They have benefits in GW terrain. And again, when Stormlands could advance them 9 inches extra for effectively 1 command point, that was really good. But yeah. Shadow Warrior, why is the Blade Guard Ancient in C tier? You can rewind the stream to figure that out, but the answer is he is 45 points. You don't attach him to a unit of Blade Guard. The only reason he is here is because he's 45 points. Speaking of which, very, very close, we have the Invader ATV. The Invader ATV is actually kind of legit for the exact same reason. It's 60 points. It's the only thing in the codex you can buy for 60 points that's not a character. So if you can't afford a scout squad, you buy the Invader ATV, which is so annoying. I have to put it in bottom of B. Yeah, it is cheap, it's fast, it's somewhat durable. Yeah, the Mario card is kind of good for being a solo idiot. You see it more often than like the Lieutenant. I think it has to go up a bit, but yeah, 8 wounds is a lot. Toughness 5, 8 wounds. Most of the strats, like reactive move, also work on the mounted units, so they also work on the ATV. It doesn't give Bring It Down, which is pretty good. So yeah, I'm putting it in B tier. It not really because it does a whole lot, but it's like, what is the specific purpose for it? It's 60 points, and that's just what you gotta use. Alright, Hellblasters. This is a very, very good candidate for C tier. Hellblasters, in theory, do a lot of damage. They shoot when they die, which is in theory pretty good to do more damage. You know what? Hellblasters don't actually do enough damage. you spend like 300 points with characters and buffs to like not kill half of a knight. It's so bad. Hellblasters are so bad. They need the lieutenant with fire discipline. Even then, they don't do enough damage. And the problem is also, I have a problem with units that kill themselves to do damage. Hellblasters lose models whenever you use them. And at some point, your opponent can just ignore them. They're like, ugh. It is not good. Hellblasters go into C tier. The problem is they're too expensive. Either they need like rapid fire, or they need to be cheaper. One of the two. That's my opinion. I'm putting them behind aggressors because I like aggressors more than Hellblasters. Eliminators. Eliminators go into D tier because they haven't fixed their points yet after nerfing their rules, and I will not even consider this a real datasheet until someone at Games Workshop notices these guys are 85 points. Next. Desolation Marines. Now, here we have a real conversation. Desolation Marines are generally not good. They are too expensive. They need Oath. And without an AP buff from Plunging Fire, they don't do that much. However, right now, we live in a metagame where AdMech is like the best army in the game. Eldar are the best army in the game. They are insane in Anvil Siege Force. And if you play against Knights, you would rather have something else. But they're not completely useless. You still have 4 shots with the Super Crack. Desolation Marines are really bad into other Space Marines. That is their big problem. They don't really do enough damage against other Space Marine units. Because it's like AP nothing, ignore cover. Like even Scout Squads probably survive being shot by Oathed Desolation Marines. But against anything else, except for Space Marines and Knights, like, they're really decent. Like, you can just use them as a trash sweeper. Desolation Marines kill, like, all the 10-man units. 10 Cultists, 10 Zangors, 10 Poxwalkers, 10 Rangers, 10 whatever. It's like, yeah. They are bad into a power armor meta with more than 1 wound. Speaking of which, aren't Sisters pretty good right now? Aren't they also pretty decent against Sisters? Yeah, I think they go into B tier. I think Desolation Marines go into B tier. Not because you see them all the time, but because, man, if the meta calls for them, they are pretty good. They won Elites GT. Fair enough. I will put them behind the Phobos Librarian. Because that seems like the exact same slot to me. It is very, very, very contextual on the metagame. But if they're good, they're good. Yeah. Like, if you think about it, if they kill a unit of 10 cultists per turn, if you kill 5 units of cultists across 5 turns, you make 10... You make, like, 300 points back. That's pretty decent. They also take a significant chunk out of 20 Orc Boys. Because Orcs are not bad. Orcs are also pretty nice right now. Yeah, I think that's it. Alright. Devastators. Devastators have one interaction I can see, which is flip something to a 6 with like sustained and lethal. You can give them all plasma cannons and free Overwatch with Tegarius, but it's bad. Devastators are bad. They're also bad with a Razorback. Stop bringing it up in my comments. Reaver Lieutenant. I think they're better than tactical Marines, but not by much. Alright. Now we have a conversation about the Dreadnoughts. Let's put all 4 of them into the thing. Let's make this quick. The Boxnaut goes into D tier, like below the Terminators. This guy is ass. Yeah, the Boxnaut doesn't do anything. He's bad. Yeah, D tier, easy. Let's get to the other ones. F, it's not an aircraft, but he's honestly so bad he could go in F. It is what it is. All right. Let's go into reverse release order because I'm funny like that. Okay. All right. We start with the Ballistas Dreadnought. Formerly an S tier datasheet. I'm sure it's part of the wall. I mean, it is about as anemic as a building, so maybe the Boxnaut is actually a fortification, but I wonder, is the Boxnaut worse than a Hammerfall bunker? Probably not, but it's a funny joke. Alright. The Ballistas. The Ballistas Dreadnought went up 10 points, which is pretty bad. Yes, Elo. Eldar are on top. They are always on top. 10 points on the Ballistas was pretty bad. And they have disappeared from a bunch of lists. And I do agree with Let's Get It. 1 Ballistas is pretty bad. 2 is okay. 3 is list design. I completely agree with this point. I think the Gladius list that runs 3 of these things is still good. You keep playing that same Gladius list if you want to. Your scoring units are worse than before, but you still just shoot your opponents to death. It is what it is. I do think it is a downgrade, though. I think the Ballistas Dreadnought goes into A tier instead of S. I think it has fallen out of S. The question I want to ask you, did it fall into B or A? The Ballistas Dreadnought was S tier, but I don't think it's anymore. Did it fall into B or A? Yeah, we're still talking about the Ballistas Crispy Kale. B? Alright, overwhelming majority would be B. Okay. Let's put the Ballistas Dreadnought into B tier. I'm putting it ahead of the Tech Marine, though. I'm settling for top of B, not for any bottom. It's too expensive? I don't agree. I think if you put 3 Ballistas Dreadnoughts on your expansion objective, your opponent is never taking it. Alright, next is the Brutalis Dreadnought. The Brutalis Dreadnought does mortal wounds when he charges. He has a bunch of melters. And he has the same problem as Assault Centurions and Aggressors, in which he can't advance in charge and also advance in shoot unless you are in Stormlands. So the Brutalis Dreadnought is only good in Stormlands. You've never seen a Brutalis in Ultramarines? You should look up the Stormlands, Shadow Warrior. You should look up the Stormlands. The Brutalis is in C. I think it is really close to B, but I think he's just worse than Assault Centurions at the same job. Yeah, I agree with C. But I think it's a bit higher up on C. I think it's like with Aggressors and Hellblasters, like something like somewhere like that. I think that's fair. You would rather have Blade Guard than a Brutalis? I disagree in Stormlands. Yeah, he is detachment locked, but that would make it a single purpose. My problem is the Brutalis is detachment locked, and he's just worse than Assault Centurions. So, and he can't go through walls. So I think he's just worse than Assault Centurions. But if they ever do something with the points on the Brutalis Dreadnought, I think he's fine. Lastly, we have the Redemptor Dreadnought. Formerly in D tier. Because I like being controversial and because the Redemptor Dreadnought was absolute ass. It was garbage. It was like terrible. The Redemptor Dreadnought was completely garbage before the points changes. It was the worst vehicle in the codex. which is not true, but I'm saying it right now to make the chat type more stuff. Okay, before we start talking where it actually goes, I want to talk about some problems I have with the Redemptor Dreadnought. Number one, I played more than 2.5 years against Index Chaos Knights. When Chaos Knights had their Index, and the Carnivore was an AP6 ignore cover melter gun that hit on 2s and wounded on 3s, with D6 plus 4 damage. Chaos Knights did not care how tough your Redemptor was. Every single time someone took Redemptor Dreadnoughts to a GT or RTT, they got completely wasted by Chaos Knights. It was basically you were playing with a 500-point handicap. If you took 2 Redemptor Dreadnoughts against Eldar, Chaos Knights, other Space Marines. They were so garbage. But something changed. Something changed. The points went down recently. -1 damage. Knights are gone from the meta. Chaos Knights are not as good anymore because the Brigand doesn't hit on 2s and has worse rules. And there's a bunch of damage to melee in the game. Ines Wilson went 7-1 with a triple Redemptor Stormlands, which, to be fair, was a list specifically made for UKTC terrain, but it worked, didn't it? I'm also looking at a bunch of 5-0 finishes, and I see 2 Redemptors, 1, 2, 3 Redemptors, 0 Redemptors, 1 Redemptor, and 0 Redemptors. So more than half of the lists I can pull up here have Redemptor Dreadnoughts in them. Yeah, they are good in multiple detachments. They are good in Ironstorm. They're good in Stormlands. I think in Gladius they're fine. Yeah, there is a very real argument. You can run Redemptors in a bunch of spots here. Triple Redemptors, S tier. Triple is very expensive though, Shadow Warrior. Keep in mind, it is still an expensive model. Triple Redemptor outside of Ines Wilson's specific list. Because keep in mind, triple Ballistas is. Oh no, you didn't type that. Excuse me. Oh, let's get it, said it. Oh, excuse me. A triple works in one instance. It worked in Ines Wilson's list on one terrain format. I don't think you should run triple Redemptor in every list, especially in that one Gladius list, because if you upgrade your triple Ballistas to triple Redemptor, you have to cut like an entire Vindicator for that, and I don't think that's worth it. They were in D tier, but they are showing up. And we have heard a bunch of voices say A. Should we gamble on A? Or should we settle on B? That's what I want to know. 6 Brutalis with Battle Line. Don't say it. Yeah. Yeah, I do think Redemptors are good now, though. I think they're actually good. Top of B or A? I mean, if Oriel Ventress made it to A tier, we kind of have to give the Redemptor A tier, right? Yeah? What do you think, Battle Brothers? They're split. I will put them in A. Let's go. I put them at the end of A, but yeah, we're going for it. Yeah, we're going to put them bottom of A. But yeah, it is something. Yeah, I'm finally sitting here, live on stream, unironically moving Redemptor Dreadnoughts up, because man. Yeah, there are more people saying A, and you are the person saying B. You and Let's Get It are saying B. Halo is saying A. Adept is saying A. It is so split. Alvaro is saying A. It is the close one. Yeah, let's keep going. But this is interesting. I will be very curious where it goes. I completely concede the Redemptor has overtaken the Ballistas based on results. I cannot lie to you about facts. So that's where we are. Alright, next we are talking about Storm Speeders. Some of my favorite datasheets. Let's go. And by some of them, I mean 1 out of 3 is my favorite datasheet, and the other 2 suck. Let's talk about this. Storm Speeders. First, we have the Hail Strike. It sucks. Down in the piss it goes. You can live next to the Reaver Lieutenant and think about what you did. Alright. Let's talk about the 2 actual choices. The Storm Speeder Thunder Strike, which I think is this one. No, this one is it. This one, the Thunder Strike. Alright. The Thunder Strike is the one that gives +1 to hit against vehicles and monsters. Gamble on 21 black. Yeah. So, the Thunder Strike gives +1 to hit against monsters and vehicles. And it hits on 2s, which is pretty good. The problem is it doesn't stack with Oath of Moment. And I think the Thunder Strike is best in, like, Blood Angels. +1 to wound. Yeah, excuse me. +1 to wound against monsters and vehicles. That's what I meant. Yeah. It doesn't stack with Oath. And most of the time you want to kill a vehicle, you probably have Oath. That's my problem. So I think it goes into C tier in Ultramarines specifically. In Deathwatch and Ultramarines, I think it's A or S. It can, but the problem is also it is 160, I think. It is really expensive. If the opponent is -1 to hits, that is true, but there is not a lot of -1 to wound on vehicles. Yeah, 150, that's a lot of points. 150 is pretty expensive for a Rhino. Because keep in mind, it's toughness 9 with 11. Yeah, it's not worth the points, but I will respectfully put it above the Brutalis Dreadnought. Or, like, below. Hellblasters. Okay, it can be next to Hellblasters. C tier for the Thunder Strike. Alright. Let's talk about the Hammer Strike. The Hammer Strike is cheap. The Hammer Strike loves the Stormlands because of the -1 to hidden wound strat. The Hammer Strike gives you ignore cover, which is like the best buff in the game. The Hammer Strike has so many shots with multi-damage. It is basically a skirmish unit. Because a Hammer Strike will just bully a unit of like 5 infantry models off of an objective. It has Deep Strike. Like what are we doing? The Hammer Strike is goated. Yeah, A tier. Let's go. Put it in A tier. It is best in Stormlands, but it is good in every list. I'm putting it ahead of the JPI. The Hammer Strike is goated. Your Hammer Strikes whiffs everything, but yeah, it's A tier. Yeah, it is just good. It really likes having Oath, but if it doesn't have Oath, it still annoys people. Yeah. Removing cover is so good. Yeah. Also keep in mind, removing cover disables rules that trigger if your unit has cover, which isn't that common in this edition, but it can come up. So there's always something. Alright. The Fire Strike Servo Turret. This thing is really funny. This is another hear me out. S tier, do not be afraid of telling the truth. Okay, hear me out on the Fire Strike Servo Turret. Would you believe me? I killed Phoenix Lord Fuegan in Overwatch with a Fire Strike Servo Turret. Would you believe me that happened? Because that shit was funny. Alright, now, let's talk about this a bit in more detail. I will not move on from the Fire Strike Servo Turret. The Fire Strike Servo Turret is a vehicle, and it is 75 points. It is very, very independent because it is twin linked. It hits on 2s. It has a 2-up save. And it can shoot in combat. It overwatches on 4-up. And you can run them in units of 1 or 2, I believe. I think 1 or 2, but I'm mostly looking at like solo turrets. 75 points is not awful for a vehicle. It hits on 2s, yes. It hits on 2s. There's a Tech Marine on it. It hits on 2s. Ballistic skill 2 and twin linked. You always run the last Talon because you don't want the autocannon. It had a purpose. The Fire Strike servo turret had a purpose. And that purpose was, it was a cheap vehicle you could run in an infantry-only army to let your opponent bring it down as a card. Now bring it down always gives you 4 points, no matter how big the vehicle is. So that doesn't work anymore. That makes it a lot worse. And I don't think you should put it in lists. It is, but I think it is a C tier unit. I will settle for bottom of C, but I think it's not useless. It has a 3-inch move. It gets better with Assault, though, in Firestorm. Yeah, can't get picked up like the Death Sense. Completely true. All of the things you guys are saying is true. The thing is just, it is really cheap. No, D-Den, I disagree. It is really, really cheap for basically shooting harder than half a Ballistus Dreadnought. Bottom of C. End of discussion. Alright. Next we go to the... let's do the boomer vehicles first, because I always find this pretty funny. Vindicator, Whirlwind. Yeah, let's do the boomer vehicles first. All right. Whirlwind, Vindicator, and both of the Predators. Let's talk about the boomer tanks. All right. First, the Whirlwind. The Whirlwind is actually garbage. It doesn't do anything. The datasheet rule sucks. It hits on 4s. It doesn't ignore cover. It's AP 2. Strength 8. Trash. The Whirlwind is completely trash. I'm putting it with the Terminators. Honestly, I'm putting it next to the Ancient because I hate the Whirlwind. It sucks. Are you sure it doesn't fly? It's below the Desolators. It is like 2 tiers below the Desolators. It is so bad. The problem... No, it's not better than the turret. No, it's not. It's not better than the turret. The problem is, the turret will, in theory, kill a Rhino if you outflank it out of reserves and you shoot a Rhino. The Whirlwind will never kill a 5-man unit of elves. It will never kill 5 elves behind a wall. Because it is d6 plus 4 shots. Yeah, if you roll 10 shots, you're never hitting all of them, you're never wounding all of them, and they will just keep 1 save or something. The Whirlwind sucks at killing a unit. And even if you say it might kill 5 elves, it will never kill 10 Vanguard. It is so bad. No, the Whirlwind sucks. It is... Nope, it's not happening. And it's 200 points! The Whirlwind is so expensive. It's like 190. It costs almost as much as Desolators, and it doesn't do the job Desolators do. It is so bad. Yeah, it's 10 points less than Desolators, and it can't even kill 10 cultists. It's bad. Next. Let's save the Vindicator for last. The Predator Destructor. We got a C tier here, and I agree. I think the Predator Destructor is only good in Ironstorm, but it is not good enough than... It is not better than the Dreadnoughts. Or the Hammer Strike. Honestly, the biggest problem is the Hammer Strike. Because if you want a fast vehicle with a bunch of shots, you play the Hammer Strike, not the Predator. So I think the problem is the Predator. So I'm putting it behind Aggressors. It's pretty close, though. Yeah, easy. The Predator Annihilator. This is an underrated tank. I've used this guy a bunch of times. And there is actually tournament results to back up. Yeah, someone says B, and that's where I'm trying to lead here. The Predator Annihilator is really cheap. 135 for 4 shots once and 3 shots all the time. And the reroll damage is really good. Yeah, it is critical for vehicles. Yeah, Pred Destructor is in C tier. It is right behind the aggressors. The Annihilator is pretty good. It is cheap. It comes out of reserves. It is really good as a backup, and it is in Bastian Kries' tournament list from Germany. He always runs 2 of them. So yeah, I'm putting them in B. I think it's like behind the Invader ATV. Or behind the Lieutenant? Yeah, let's put them behind the Lieutenant. B tier for the Predator Annihilator. Yeah, the thing holding it back is AP3. Honestly, the Ballista Dreadnought has the same problem, and it shoots basically the same as the Ballista Dreadnought. Most of the time. Alright, last, the Vindicator. Now, before the patch, the Vindicator was the most used thing in our codex, because it just... If a Vindicator shoots at something, it feels it. And since the last patch, the Vindicator didn't get nerfed. Salutations, Ironfather Richie. Elo, what if you want firepower that is not in line of sight? You play Desolation Marines. So, Vindicator, yeah. I mean, it's you could roll 1 shot. It's AP3. It only moves 9 inches. Who am I kidding? It's going up. I want to know if it goes into S or A tier. And I don't think it's S tier. Let me explain to you why. I don't think you run Vindicators in Stormlands. And I think you can build Gladius lists without Vindicators. If you want to go into more infantry focus. I agree, you run more Vindicators than not. And they are good in Ironstorm, they're good in Gladius. But I don't think you ever run a Vindicator in Stormlands. And that's why I think it's A tier and not S tier. But I'm completely willing to give it top of A. Like, the Vindicator goes top of A right next to Company Heroes. I think it's, like, insanely good. Put Vindies in S? I can't put them in S. You don't play them in 1 detachment, period. And that is not, like, a thing that can happen, like everything in S tier, you play in basically every detachment, unless you want to be funny. And the Vindicator, you don't play it in Stormlands. Alright. Next, we have the Gladiators. Now, the toughness 11 is so important. That's true. Now we go bottom of S. No, we're settling for A. Top of A. Top of A for the Vindicator. Let's talk about Gladiators. The Gladiator Valiant got cheaper. Let's talk about the Gladiator Valiant first. It got cheaper. Does that save it? My gut feeling says no, and I think the results also say no. F? I don't think it's F, but I think it's bad. How much is a Valiant now? Is it 150 or 140? I think it's 150, right? That's still so expensive. Has no purpose, I agree. 150 is so much. Yeah, it's D. It's definitely D. The Valiant goes in D. I'm putting it with the Hailstrike because they have like a similar problem. D tier for the Valiant. Alright, let's talk about the Lancer first. I know you guys are itching for the Reaper. But just like the song, you gotta wait for the Reaper. Let's talk about the Lancer here. Let's talk about the Lancer. I am very famously not a Lancer believer. I don't think the Lancer ever shows up in top performing lists. The turret is better than the Valiant. You get 2 turrets for the price of 1 Valiant. Makes you think. Yeah, the Lancer has a problem in which AP4 is critical. It is only critical if your opponent doesn't have an invuln, which it always has, unless you're playing against other Space Marines. Yeah, the 5-up invuln meta, Halo Bangout, you are a cute little potato. Have you ever played against Necrons? Do you know the pain you feel when you shoot a Gladiator Lancer at a Doomsday Arc? It sucks. It's the worst feeling ever. We could get 4 turrets instead of Gilliman. Hey, Alvaro is cooking. Alonso Alvarado is cooking over here. Sisters have a 6-up invuln, which is basically the same as having AP3. A lot of the time, but yeah. The problem I have with the Lancer is it loses shootouts against other anti-tank tanks. It loses against Castigators. It loses against the Caladius Graph tank. It loses against Doomsday Arcs. It loses against Chaos Space Marine Predators because they're just cheaper. So what are we doing with the Lancer? Like, if I double check all of the tournament results, none of them have a single Lancer in them. It's a heavy weapon for Anvil Siege Force. That's something. But I don't feel it, boys. I don't feel it. Yeah, it's bad against blanking damage. It's bad against Emperor's Children. Yeah. I think it's in C tier. The problem is just it doesn't do enough. I think it goes next to the Brutalis Dreadnought. It has a very similar design flaw as the Brutalis Dreadnought. It is a long-range anti-tank unit, and against a lot of armies, it just doesn't do the thing. Valiant Smelter doesn't mind the blanking damage. I think it does. You do the 2 damage extra, but you still can't do the d6 part, so that's a problem. Okay. Last but not least, my son is coming home. It's my beautiful, beautiful baby boy. Look at him. Look at him go. Look, he is laughing like the sun. You know, musicians always say, don't fear the Reaper. My opponents would respectfully disagree. They all fear the Reaper. Yeah, makes you think. Yeah. The Reaper is so goated. It is biased against infantry. That is completely correct. The problem is the Gladiator Reaper will completely eradicate anything infantry in the game. And I'm talking anything from 20 Orc Boys to Deathshroud Terminators. The Gladiator Reaper rips the absolute spunk out of any infantry unit. Is it good against Emperor's Children? Yes. You see that 5-man of Lord with Infractors, it's dead. You see those Noise Marines, it's dead. There are 5 Swooping Hawks jumping the wall. Overwatch, they're dead. It's crazy. The way the Reaper works in the meta Gladius is you keep this thing in like reserves, and as soon as an infantry unit comes out, you kill it. Is it S tier? No. The Gladiator Reaper is not S tier. You don't play it in Stormlands. You don't always play it in Gladius. But you play it in Gladius a lot, and you should play it in Ironstorm. My brothers from a crag, if you have never seen a Mercy is Weakness Gladiator Reaper shoot an infantry unit, it is dead. It is so dead. The Reaper is very easy to combo with. The Gladius has ignore cover. The Stormspeeder Hammerstrike has ignore cover. It combos with 5-up crit strats. It combos with Incursors, Battle Brothers. You see those beautiful Incursors up in S tier? The Gladiator Reaper is so good with Incursors. It's really funny. The Reaper is really good. And I don't know how to tell you this, the Reaper goes in A tier. I'm putting it below the Hammerstrike. The Reaper is in A tier. You have more important things to Storm of Fire on. You don't have if you're playing against an infantry army. It's A tier. No, the Reaper is A tier. It's B, it's not B. It is a tech choice, but right now, in the meta, you need it. If your triple Redemptor, triple Vindicator list runs into 20 Orc Boys, you lose the game. You cannot kill 20 Orc Boys with Redemptors and Vindicators. It's not happening. You know what kills 20 Orc Boys? One Reaper. It's gone. Put Oath on it, put Incursors on it, dead. You know what AdMac doesn't like to see? A Reaper. Any unit on an object, dead. There's a bunch of Teraxi deep striking down to move block you, Overwatch, they're dead. I have attended a Super Major and a GT, and the Reaper was an all-star. It was so good against Deathshot Terminators. It killed the entire squad every single time. Now, granted, I had to invest command points to do it, but for an anti-infantry tank to kill 16 wounds of 2-up save, that is impressive. So yeah, it goes into A tier. You could semantic me into top of B. The doubters in chat have one comment to convince me. You can write one sentence to convince me it's B. The meta is full of 3-man units. World Eaters are the second most represented faction, one Exalted 8-bound. Yeah, but if 3 Exalted 8-bound charge a Gladiator Reaper, one of them dies and then you survive. Also, those 3 Exalted... I'm not talking about Horde armies, Halo Bang Out. I'm talking about infantry. The Gladiator Reaper is not here to play against Green Tide. I'm talking about one unit of 20 orcs. I'm talking about 6 units of Skitari Vanguard. I'm talking about 10 Sacrosaurs. Have you guys played against Sisters of Battle recently? I don't think you have. So many movement shenanigans, you won't get angles. That's why you use reserves. The problem is, here's the thing, why I disagree with this opinion, Shadowy Warrior. Infantry has to go out. Infantry is the thing that has to step out and do something. Vehicles can stay safe and abuse angles. The Reaper doesn't care. A Reaper doesn't survive 6 attacks hitting freeze with sustained lethal at AP 3 damage free. But then they don't have reroll charges. And I'm not letting them 9-inch deep strike a charge on a gladiator. The Reaper can use smoke. It cannot use smoke. It gets killed easily, who cares? It always kills something more expensive than itself. It also completely ruins 5 Rubric Marines. I mean, Thousand Suns got nerfed, fair enough, but the Reaper can use smoke. It has the smoke keyword? Wait, let me double check that. I think that's wrong. If it has smoke, it's going into A tier. And you should not have told me. You might have ruined your own game. It has smoke! Oh no. Chat, you're cooked. Battle Brothers, you guys are cooked. Bottom of B. Bottom of B. Here we go. Alright. We're almost done. Why did you think it didn't have smoke? I thought the Primaris vehicles don't have smoke. I flat out think the Primaris vehicles don't have smoke. Always had smoke? I didn't notice. The Impulsor doesn't have smoke? Thank you, let's get it. Alright, let's talk about Land Raiders. Alright. Land Raiders. We start with the normal Land Raider. The normal Land Raider got cheaper, right? It is now 200 or something? I think we already saw like a triple Land Raider list do something funny. Because it's now 200 points. I don't think I'm putting the Land Raider out of C tier. But the normal Land Raider used to be D tier. 220? Thank you. 220. Crusader got cheaper. Okay. 10 for every Land Raider. I see. Okay. Okay, where do we put the normal Land Raider? I think if you want to be really niche, you could run like a stat check with Land Raiders. I think it's C. Yeah, the normal Land Raider in C tier. Yeah, I think that's fair. Let's put it ahead of the Firestrike Servo turret. Land Raider Crusader is D. Land Raider Crusader is D tier. I think I agree. Are there any arguments why it wouldn't be D tier? I think one of the biggest problems with the Land Raider Crusader is that it is just a worse Storm Raven. Only Crusader has grenades? That's wrong. The Redeemer also has grenade. Yeah, I can't think of anything to do with the Crusader. Has the highest carrying capacity, but is there anything we could put into a Crusader we couldn't put into a Redeemer? Do we have a 16 model unit? Victrix? First of all, Victrix are not out. But one unit of Victrix with Gravis Calgar and Guard is like 10 models. 11 models with Sicarius. You could fit that into a Redeemer. Yeah, the problem is the Redeemer exists. We will talk about the Redeemer in a second. I'm talking about the Crusader still. I don't think we can find something for the Crusader to do, so it's going into D tier, I think. Let's put it with the Terminators, so it can transport stuff in D tier. Gravis takes 2 slots. I did account that. Aggressors with Calgar? Oof. I mean, fair enough, but do you want to put aggressors with Calgar in a transport? Alright, let's talk about the Redeemer. The Redeemer has grenades. It has the good Overwatch. It's tough. I don't think it's A tier. I think the Redeemer is underplayed right now. Aggressors plus leader doesn't fit in a Storm Raven. Okay, H-Tap, that is fair enough, but we're not playing aggressors anyway. If playing aggressors was actually, like, relevant, I would see it, but we don't. So the Redeemer. I think the Redeemer is a bit underrated right now. I don't think it's good enough for A tier. But I think the Redeemer is pretty good. I don't think the Redeemer has to be in Firestorm. I think the +1 strength isn't necessary anymore, now that toughness 12 has basically disappeared from the game. I think it's B tier. Only one detachment. Halo, I think we will disagree what that detachment is. I think the Redeemer is better in Gladius than in Firestorm. Yeah, Redeemer goes in B. Let me see where it goes in B. Probably ahead of, like, Tigurius. Yeah, it's too expensive for A. I agree. Let's put it into B tier, ahead of Tigurius. Because I do think the Redeemer is underrated. B to C because of movement and placement for deployment. That is completely fair. If you take terrain layouts into consideration, on WTC, Land Raiders are unplayable. You don't see a reason to have that and Gilliman and Calgar on your list. I agree. But if you have a Land Raider Redeemer, you don't need Gilliman. Because you have a big, expensive unit that doesn't need Oath of Moment. I still think it's underrated. Yeah, I'm still putting it in B tier. It is specific, but yeah. Alright, next. The Repulsor and the Repulsor Executioner. Let's talk about the normal Repulsor. I think the normal Repulsor goes in C tier. The normal Repulsor. No, not the Black Templar one. We're Ultramarines. Yeah, I think the Repulsor goes in C. I think it's worse than a Land Raider. You don't need it to transport anything in Ultramarines. And with Liberia's Conclave was a dud. I really tried to make it work. I won one RTT. I didn't win another RTT. And the meta got better around Liberius. And without Sternguard, it's just not worth running, I think. I think the regular Repulsor is just flawed. I think it doesn't have a focus. And I think the protection against charges isn't as good as something that would help against shooting. So I will put the Repulsor in C tier. Let's put it behind the Brutalis, because I can at least see what the Repulsor would potentially do. No, you know what? Behind the Predator, but ahead of the Hellstrike. C tier for the Repulsor. Alright, the Repulsor Executioner. This one is a fan favorite. I know a bunch of you guys like it. I personally hate it. I hate the Repulsor Executioner. I think it sucks. But that's just me and not my final rating for the tier list. My problem is the Laser Destroyer is bad. The datasheet rule is bad. It has a free up save. But it shoots a lot of bullets. And it's really good in Ironstorm. I agree with that. I do think it's good in Ironstorm. You know what helped? You know what really helped the Repulsor Executioner, actually? You know what helped the Executioner a lot? It was the increased transport capacity. I think now that you're able to put 7 models in there, it's a lot better than it used to be. It's like 6 models. I think that helped a lot. Grading Gladius AP4 ignores cover. I can see it, yeah. I can see it. I can see it being okay in Gladius. I don't think it's good. AP5 ignores don't count on the laser destroyer. It's never gonna hit anything. Has the same problem as the Lancer. Kind of. It does a bit more stuff. The problem with the Lancer is the Lancer doesn't do anything if your opponent doesn't have tanks. The Repulsor Executioner can still kill like an infantry squad because it has so many shots. You got the Gatling and the Heavy Bolter and all the defense stuff and the missile pods. It has so many shots. It takes half an hour to roll it out, but yeah, I know a lot of people like it. I don't like it at all. I would put it behind the Redeemer. Is that something you could agree with? Chat. If we factor in that the Repulsor Executioner shows up on occasion in lists, but I hate it, I would put it in B tier with the Redeemer. It's not going in A. You will not make me put the Repulsor Executioner in A tier. I don't think it's that good. Above Redeemer, above Redeemer. If we can get a third person saying above Redeemer, I'm putting above Redeemer. Is there a third person in chat giving me above Redeemer? If not, I'm putting it below. Pyro Bubbles above Redeemer because you've seen it more. I will accept that. I am the most understanding and humble Ultramarine streamer on YouTube, so here we go. Alright. Alright. Next, before we go to the dedicated transports, we have the Stormraven gunship. Now, the Stormraven gunship is only really good in one detachment. It has -1 damage, it has 14 wounds, it has a lot of guns. It has actually a lot of guns. It is an aircraft, but you play it as a vehicle. You never start it as an aircraft. It is only good in one detachment, but that one detachment has a very good win rate. It is the Stormlands. All the guns are twin-linked, yes. Except for the missiles, but yes. Flyer tier because it flies? Actually not, Alonso. It's way better than that. Yet the Stormraven is gas. Sufficient AT will rip it out of the sky. Not in Stormlands, it won't. Yeah, in Stormlands it's go. Your triple Vindicator, triple Redemptor list will not kill it. I don't believe you. I don't believe you will kill it with that list. Yeah, -1 hit wound damage AP is insane. And keep in mind, Necrons no longer have ignore modifiers. Your double Lancers will take it out. That is not happening. That is not happening. You need to check the math on that. I think even with Oath of Moment, you're wrong. I'm opening a calculator right now. Let's take this. Okay. 4 shots, hitting on 3, strength 14, AP 4, damage D6 plus 3. You reroll all hits, you get +1 to hit. And you're hitting toughness 10, free up save, 14 wounds, cover -1 to wounds. So it's back on force, but also -1 to hit. And it's also -1 damage, so it's D6 plus 2. Yeah, it's like I'm giving you less than 20% to kill it with 2 Lancers and Oath. You don't hit on 2s? I was being generous. You can wound it on 2s, you cannot wound it on 2s. You cannot wound it on 2s. You need strength 20 with Oath to wound it on 2s. Yeah, you can. No, you cannot. That doesn't work. Unless your opponent has a brain injury and forgets to use the strat, you cannot do that. Yes, you can. Thunderstrike. You don't play a Thunderstrike. That's not happening. You will not play a Thunderstrike. You can if they don't use the strat. Why would they not use the strat? Like, okay, guys, no, you're being ridiculous. You're being ridiculous. You can stack the strat, but you're not playing a Thunderstrike. If you play an Ultramarine, no, this is done. No, it's not happening. Okay, so I've seen voices say A tier. I think it's not A tier. I think it's B tier because you only play it in Stormlands. I genuinely believe you're only playing it in Stormlands. But in Stormlands, it's like the best unit in the list, and that's why we're putting it in B tier. I'm putting it like the top of B. Yeah, you play it in Stormlands for -1 to hit and wound. And occasionally to auto-advance 9 inches and fly into the enemy deployment zone. Also, fun fact, if you've never done it, you can give the Stormraven +1 OC with Gilliman. Oh, no, it's not A. It's not A. Sorry, Halo, it's not A because you only play it in Stormlands. You never play it anywhere else. The Gladiator Reaper has at least 2 detachments you play it in. The Storm Raven does not. Yeah, it's really good. It's the list changer in Stormlands. It is, but it's only in 1 detachment. So it has a specific purpose, and it's not always a good choice. Keep in mind what the tiers actually mean. Alright. Finally, we're coming to the end of the tier list. I'm getting faster at these every time. The last one was 3 hours. Now we're at 2.5. I will do the drop pod last, actually, because I don't know what to say. Alright. Let's start with the transports. Let's start with the boomer transports. Rhino. Rhino is D tier with the tactical marines. If you find an Iron Storm list with tactical marines splitting into rhinos and shooting out of the firing deck, you can keep that list to yourself. I don't care. The Razorback is garbage. I'm putting it next to the Boxnod. It's so bad. Really, really bad. Just D tier everything? Halo, are you insane? The Impulsor is goated. Are you out of your mind, Battle Brothers? The Impulsor is goated. Transports are good. Yeah, the Impulsor is really good. You put the captain in there. Yeah, A, B, I can see both. Let me see, how often do we see an Impulsor? I do agree more with B than A, but it's not D, and it's not F. Impulsors are good. Advancing and disembarking is really good to score. You can put Incursors in the Impulsor to scout. You can put Sicarius in the Impulsor to scout. Don't care about transport because you have advance and charge and advance and shoot. Shadowy Warrior, you get 3 extra inches if you disembark from a transport in advance and charge. That is a massive threat extender. Transports are really good. Let's get it. I agree. It's F tier if you put the missile launchers on it. Don't do that. Impulsors aren't that competitively viable for Ultramarines with success. I disagree. If you see a captain with Sternguard, they almost always have an Impulsor. The thing is that it's very monodimensional. And I agree it's not that common to do. You won't be able to do that with Kato, with the new Kato. Shadowy Warrior, I believe the new Kato doesn't replace the old one. You can't run both in the same list, but I don't think he replaces the old one. Yeah, 5-man squad with captain always good in an impulsor, yeah. There's a tax on that too. There's always 200 points. I disagree with that opinion. Let me tell you why. I don't think you should count transports as part of the package. Because after your unit runs out, kills something, and dies, the transport is still a unit that can do something. You don't lose the transport alongside with the unit. You can still use the transport to harass infantry. You can still use the transport to tank shock something. You can still hold an objective. You can still screen. Impulsors are good. Impulsors are good. I don't think they're A tier good, but I think they're B tier good. Let's put the Impulsor in B tier. And I actually think they are better than Eradicators. Worse than Sternguard. Worse than... Yeah, I think with the other two vehicles. I think that makes sense. Better than the Repo X. You would rather have Scouts over an Impulsor? That's fair enough. You could put Victrix in an Impulsor. Victrix are not out yet, so I don't want to judge datasheets based on how Victrix would do. Victrix Guard don't exist yet in my brain. I don't count Victrix Guard as a datasheet to consider yet. Alright, we have one last datasheet. I will leave this one up to you guys as long as you don't say F. I have to be completely honest. I have not read what the new drop pod does. Let's talk about the drop pod. What does it do? Did it change? Did the drop pod change? Leave it in current topic tier? That's amazing. It has 12 carrying instead of 10. That's not bad. Can it still deep strike on turn 1? Can it rapid ingress on turn 1? I could just look this up, right? Like I can just look this up. Wait a second. Let's find out together. Warpedia drop pod. Here we go. Alright. Can be set up in the reinforcement step of your first, second, or third. Okay, so it cannot rapid ingress. Okay. You must still disembark. That's fair. You can disembark and charge now. I mean, that's a 9-inch charge. I mean, that's something. It doesn't have a gun. It has OC 0, so it can't do actions. Ugh. Oh god, that's actually a tragedy. Oh no. By the Emperor, it can't score engage. Excuse me, it can't score teleport Homer. Yeah, this is pretty bad. Just delete the icon. Yeah, it's D tier, right? Yeah. I can see a theoretical use for it, so I'm putting it above the jump pack captain, but man, this, yeah. Oh wait, does it have an actual use? Because you can't even do an action with it. Bottom of D? Okay, sure, let's go. I'm putting it bottom of D. I'm not interested in fighting with that with that tier list. All right. So, let's look at the full tier list. All right. Let's take one big look at the tier list. I think I did an amazing job this time around. Not a single person in chat has disagreed with any of the placements. I'm just so good at this game. Nobody had any doubts. This is just the best tier list ever made. I would say this was a group effort, but you know, I didn't even need any of you. This was basically just me. Yeah. That's what happened, yeah. Here we go. Alright. Thank you so much for tuning in, Ultramarines. Thank you for attending the tier list. As I promised, by tomorrow, the community hub will have the tier list with all the unit names on it, so you can share it with your friends, do your thing, and that will be it. Make turret tier. Yeah, this is just what it is. I am very excited to see how the Victrix Guard will affect this tier list. Maybe company heroes drop to D because you never take them anymore. Maybe nothing changes because company heroes are 200 points. We never know. But that said, you know who else goes in S tier? You guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, Battle Brothers. Shoutouts on Discord member Deeps for always compiling the tournament winning Ultramarine lists. Thank you, Battle Brothers, for attending this chat. Thank you for chatting with me. I had a lot of fun making the tier list. And I will see you as soon as Ultramarine rules come out. I will talk about them. Still working on my GT video that will come out at some point, and you never know what else is gonna happen. Courage and honor. We march from a crag, and I have one last thing to think about. Now listen to me. Careful. Careful. Okay. All the lurkers are gone. We can have a secret, okay? Now watch out. If you put Marneus Calgar in Terminator armor into a unit of Gravis Marines, they get the Terminator keyword. That means you can now use the first company up-down stratagem. Have a good night.